Here are the top 7
meme coins
for 2025, and there are a few extras thrown in at the end. Now down below there are chapters so you can fast forward to the sections or the coins that you want to help you navigate the video easier. Also, this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research before moving in on the crypto and Web3 space. Meme coins are very risky. Now one caveat before we start is this is pricing in USD market caps. Now what this means is because meme coins are actually traded in Solana, Solana could do a 5x, the meme coin could do a 2x, which means it actually loses value in Solana, but it actually gains value in USD. So yeah, keep that in mind. Now to kick this off, the first coin is Pepe. It's on ETH, and it basically kicked off the meme coin cycle. Now, it is the OG meme that people know and love, and I actually covered it 2 years ago on my second channel when it was at around that $88 million mark. So yeah, pretty crazy. Right now, the market cap is just over $4.5 billion. And you can see here the run-up had that initial peak off, and then it's just kind of gone up and made higher highs. We've had this big lull here, which everyone's seen, but I do think there is potential upside. Now, where do I see this going in 2025 into 2026? Well, I think 70 billion is a stretch goal, and I think a 40 billion goal is reasonable. Why do I say that? Well, if we have a look at Doge, this ran to around 70 billion last cycle. So I can kind of see that and just going roughly half of that as a reasonable expectation. So that's where I think Pepe can go. Do I own any Pepe? No, not because I don't like the coin. I like the coin, but I've gone down the risk curve to actually try to get more gains out of it. So I like the coin. I would invest in the coin, but I actually want to take more of a speculative risk. So I don't have a bag of Pepe at the moment, but I do think it's good. Now, the next coin, number 2, is SPX 6900. This is on ETH. Now, this is Murad's number 1 coin. You can see in his bio up here, SPX 6900. It's that first thing that he puts up there. On TikTok, he has been going absolutely crazy on his content. Each video that he puts out, he's talking about meme coins, getting people in on the culture. But you can see in the top right, he's just always got these SPX logos. He absolutely loves SPX. And what this does is it's starting to get people that aren't necessarily in the SPX realm, getting them to start to believe in SPX, believe in what he's doing, and get him hyped. Murad is essentially Memecoin Jesus. He did this great talk at Token 2049. People loved it. It kind of kicked off this second spur and really solidified the meme coin super cycle. I have been actively DCAing into SPX 6900 because his conviction is so high that you just can't get away from it. And it truly does feel cult-like. The narrative is the SPX token, SPX 6900, they want to flip the stock market. So they essentially want to be worth $150 trillion, just absolutely crazy numbers. And you can also see in this video that Murad has pinned 150 reasons why SPX 6900 will reach a $1 trillion market capitalization. He is super bullish on this, and this conviction bleeds over and spills over to everyone else, and this is why it's doing quite well. When you have a look at the chart, we've just hit all-time highs. Right now, crypto isn't in the best spot, but the fact that this coin has had this crazy retracement, so it's gone down essentially 85%, and then back up to all-time highs, winding up to shoot up again. Absolutely insane, and this is why I'm DCAing into it. This chart looks absolutely beautiful. If you kind of take the last few months, that is just a beautiful chart, and that's why people are moving in on it. So what are my price predictions? Where do I think this can go? Well, I think that hitting a $50 billion market cap is kind of a stretch goal, but I do think 25 billion is attainable. So essentially a 20x from here, totally achievable. Do I want SPX to hit $1 trillion? Heck yeah, I do. Do I think it can make it? I don't know, but we've got to have those stretch goals, those things in mind. And look, as long as it goes up, I'm happy. Now, do I own any SPX? I am DCAing this, not on a daily, but every few days when I see a dip come down, I keep scooping it up. I really do believe in SPX, and I keep throwing more and more. Anytime I make a small little win, I rotate that into SPX. That is starting to become one of my bigger meme coin holdings. Now, next up on the list is MOG. Now, Shiba is to Doge what MOG is to Pepe, and this is a thesis that I have and that a lot of people have. This is very much a culture coin. It's got a lot of vibes behind it. Basically, if you got Pip Vipers, you MOG, you know what MOG is. That's why I kind of like it, because I resonate with it and I really do like it. I have been buying into MOG over Pepe because I see more upside on MOG than I do Pepe. Saying that, I think Pepe is strong and I think MOG is strong. Right now, we're at a $350 million market cap and it topped out at 1.5 billion. So there is some upside there. It did do a heavy retracement on this last meme coin pullback. Now, the Mog community goes absolutely hard when it comes to making content, making memes. People work for their bags. K Money absolutely loves Mog. He's essentially who Mog pilled me. Like basically the Mog community just works for their bags. And I think that's very, very important for a coin. So where do I see Mog going? I think a stretch goal is 10 billion and a reasonable goal is 5 billion. And from this point right now, it kind of puts it at a 15x, which I don't think is too bad. Now with Mog, I am DCAing into Mog. I bought heavily on this buy up here. I have been starting to buy a little bit into Mog, but I've also been diversifying my portfolio a little bit. So whenever I take those wins, they just don't go straight into Mog. They also go into some other coins. I will say this pullback did hurt. Didn't sell a thing, holding on to it. I should have scooped up more down here, but I did diversify and we'll touch on those coins shortly. Next up is Fartcoin. Now this is on Solana. Now this is one of the strongest Solana meme coins that we've seen in the past little run up. So when all coins had this dip down, Fartcoin actually kind of built the base, stepped up, and it's just performing really well. We're getting close to all-time highs. And if you look at this chart compared to SPX, it looks very, very similar, which shows you that there's a strong cult following. With Fartcoin, hot air rises, everyone farts, there's a bunch of narratives going around. And another reason is the coin is just named so dumbly. It has no utility. It's nothing. It is the dumbest coin that you can possibly come up with, which means that when people then buy a Rolex, buy a Ferrari, buy a Lambo with Fartcoin, it just makes people that didn't buy Fartcoin even madder, which just adds fuel to the fire. Where do I see Fartcoin going? I think a stretch goal is 10 billion with a reasonable stretch of a $5 billion market cap. Now, right now, from this point, if we get to the reasonable, we've got up a 3x, which doesn't sound amazing, but I've been accumulating from a little bit lower, and the stretch goal of around a 7x. And while that might not seem impressive, when you look at this chart looks just absolutely beautiful. The dips just keep getting eaten up. Springboard. Fartcoin is almost a very safe blue chip bet when it comes to Solana meme coins. And do I own a bag of Fartcoin? I've been DCing into Fartcoin. I've been buying Fartcoin at around these levels. Anytime I get additional wins, they usually go into Fartcoin and then they'll also go into SPX. Now, next up is Dogecoin. Now, this is the OG meme coin, and that's basically enough said. When you have a look at what happened previously with Dogecoin, it ran up to around that $70 billion mark. And in terms of a price point, it kind of hit 55-60 cents. I do see Doge running back up to all-time highs and hitting $1 this cycle. It's currently sitting at 17 cents, so I can see it hitting $1. It's the OG meme coin. We've also got the added twist that if Elon does inject payments into X, Dogecoin seems like it would be one of those things that he would accept, which would then just accelerate growth, accelerate payments, just accelerate all of that. So that is another catalyst that could be involved with Doge. When people come back to crypto, they know about Bitcoin, they know about Doge, all the other coins they don't really know about. So those are the big two. Now, do I hold any Doge? I don't hold any spot Doge, but I hold some Doge ordinals. That's my exposure to Doge. I do want bigger, crazier upside when it comes to my meme coin bags. So I do hold Doge, but I don't hold Doge, if that kind of makes sense. Now, next up is Bonk. This is on Solana, and this basically kicked off memes on Solana. The airdrop that it had was quite legendary, especially with the Solana Saga phones, where you actually got more from the Bonk than the phone itself, so you got paid to get the phone, which is pretty crazy. Now, with this, it is a slight utility play. They do have some bots, they do have some products, and it's not just a meme coin. It's become a hub for Solana development. So there is some of an execution risk when it comes to it, but it is quite a big behemoth of a token and people love it. They do a lot. So that's why it's on here. Looking at the price, it ran up to around that just shy of $4 billion mark. It's currently pulled back to a $1.2 billion mark. Now, over time, we can see that Bonk has been through the trenches. It had that run up, did nothing for so long, and then it just kind of put in these crazy highs. I see it running back up just because this is one of the OG memes on Solana, and it kind of goes from strength to strength. So where do I see Bonk going? I think a stretch goal of 15 billion and a reasonable goal of 5 billion. This kind of puts it just under a 2x from its old all-time high, and the 15 billion I think is a stretch, but it could get there. So yeah, that's where some of my targets are set. So do I hold any Bonk? I don't buy any Bonk, but I don't sell any Bonk that I have. I was lucky enough to create a tutorial on Bonkbot ages ago, got a bunch of referrals paid in Bonk, and I've just kept that as kind of like a nest egg to just see where this cycle goes. So I've got exposure, but I'm not selling, but I'm also not adding to that bag. Now, last on the list is Trump. Now, this is on Solana, and the Trump team has been using this coin to as a utility play for different things. So recently we saw the team actually use the Trump token as a way to get access to a dinner. So you'd need to hold a certain amount to get access to a dinner. And this is why we end up with some of these little pumps, because the coin actually has utility and the team uses it, pump the token, sell off some of their bags, and then sort of let it run back down, run that play back up again. So where do I see Trump going? I don't see it hitting all-time highs. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think a stretch goal of 23 billion, which is that point right here, I think that's attainable. But I think a more reasonable goal would be getting to around that $15 billion mark, which is that current mark there. There's basically a 50% gain from here. That doesn't seem super crazy, but this is a behemoth of a coin. And I also don't see too much downside either. It's almost like a stable coin when it comes to Solana meme coins. Do I own any Trump? No, I don't. Do I think that people should have this in their portfolio? This is a hedge on other things. It's not as volatile as other coins. That's kind of where this sits, and that's why it's on the list, because it is such a big behemoth of a coin, and it does actually have some action and utility on it. So yeah, those are the top 7 meme coins, but now I'll give you 4 extras that I think have really good potential. The first one is Sigma. This is on Solana. Now this has a very cult-like following. It's got a lot of people that want to work for their bags when it comes to Sigma. Memes are great, memes are good. Now I got in super early, and you can see all the buys that I've had here, and I've been DCAing into it even in this current lull. Sigma had this run up, pull back, run up, pull back. It's played out very well, and the holders want to actually hold the coin. They want to push the coin, and that's why I really like it. I think we see a run back up to all-time highs quite easily. When it comes to price predictions on Sigma, I think 1 billion is an absolute stretch of a goal, but I think 500 million is somewhat attainable, seeing that we topped out around that 150. So that kind of gives you a just shy of a 3x, so like a 2.5x from the all-time highs, which is fine. Yeah, I like Sigma, but I've been in it early, and I've been pilled on the cult, and I know that the people work for their bags. Next up is Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu. The ticker is Bitcoin. I love this. This is just, it's such a schizo coin. The people that love this coin, love this coin. I really don't have words for it. The narrative is just great. The ticker's great. It's the people's Bitcoin. It's just a really fun coin. Right now it's sitting at a $77 million market cap. It topped out at around 350. We've got good upside with it. Where do I see it going? I do think 500 million as a reasonable goal, and then a stretch goal of 750 to $1 billion. I think that works. It's a schizo coin. It's a great coin. It also features on Murad's list. People that love it, love it. People that know it, know it. And it almost feels like a little bit of an inside coin, an inside joke with meme coiners. Now, do I own any Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu? If you're watching this video, I might or I might not. I flip-flop with this. I buy in if there's a dip. I then sell out quite early and rotate into other coins. I like the coin, but it's just not a high conviction play that I'm just going to lock it up in a ledger and then forget about it for a couple of years. Now, next up is GIGA. This is on Solana. Now, this is a solid meme. I think it's all right. But when you have a look at the metrics and the numbers behind it, this is where it gets really exciting. What was absolutely crazy about this is, since its inception up until that peak that we had in January, that blow off top with Solana, every single month this candle was green. It just kept going up, 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 up. And it felt like it wouldn't stop and would just keep going, and it really built this cult community. When we go to the weekly and I put it on a log chart, you can see here it had a run up, pullback, run up, pullback, run up, pullback, run up, pullback, run up, pull. It kept zigzagging all the way up, putting in higher highs, higher lows, and it's just such a beautiful chart from its inception. Murad absolutely loves GIGA. It's been holding decent. And you can see after we had that big dip, it's starting to put in some good numbers, and the chart's looking good. Not as good as something like Fartcoin, not as good as something like SPX, but it's putting in some good numbers, which shows you that it has some staying power. Do I own any GIGA? No, I don't. I like to go down the risk curve on it. I I can appreciate the meme, the communities that are working for it, and the chart itself. It looks brilliant, it looks good, and that's why I think it is a solid meme coin. Now, in terms of price predictions, where do I think it can go? It topped out just shy of $1 billion. I think a stretch goal for around that sort of 15 billion. I think a reasonable goal is around that $5 billion mark. I think that can be somewhat attainable with GIGA. And you're going that $5 billion mark up from there, 5x, not too bad. I think that's quite easy. And from his current points, which would be a 20x, so not a bad return. Now, lastly is Pengu. This thing is on Solana and it's kind of tied to Abstract, kind of tied to Pudgy Penguins. So there is some execution risk when you actually look at the token itself. Now, saying that, it is safe, it isn't ruggy because it is tied to some legitimate brands and a chain that's actually kind of popping off and doing quite well at the moment. Now, looking at the chart, where do I think it can go? It kind of topped out at around that $2.8 billion mark. I think a good stretch goal is around that $10 billion mark, and I think it's reasonable to get to around that $5 billion mark, because from the old all-time high up to that, it's not even a 2x, so I think that is quite reasonable, but it ends up being a 7x. Like I said, Pengu doesn't feel very ruggy. It isn't just based on the meme. It's got some solid backing behind it, which could be execution risk, but I think that's what also makes it hard because it depends on where Penguins and Abstract go. So what is my Memecoin strategy? Well, I don't like to buy every single coin. I don't want to have a 50 coin portfolio. I want to keep it as tight as possible so I can then manage it easier, because when coins do run up or pump over a couple of day period, you want to be able to kind of trim off some of those profits if you can, and trying to go between so many different coins, it can get a little bit noisy and it gets a little bit hard to stay on top of. It doesn't mean I don't believe in them. A rising tide will lift all ships. So the idea with this is pick some horses to run in the race. Be focused on those and know what your exit plans are, but then also not spreading yourself too thin, because I truly believe that if you buy every single coin, you're going to end up in the same position as picking a few good, strong runners and then just focusing on those so you can actually time your exit correctly. So yeah, that's a look at the top 7 meme coins for 2025 into 2026 with a few extras. If you enjoyed this video, go down there, drop some love. I'd very much appreciate it. I had a pleasure making this video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.